Did you know that The Wire was initially rejected by HBO because executives thought it was too depressing and wouldn't find an audience? Creator David Simon, a former Baltimore Sun reporter, had to fight for years to convince them that America needed to see how its institutions were failing its citizens. What started as a police procedural became the most ambitious social critique ever attempted on television, proving that audiences were hungry for complex, realistic storytelling that treated urban problems as systemic rather than individual failures. Season 1, 2002. The story begins with Detective Jimmy McNulty attending the trial of a low-level drug dealer, where he learns that a witness to a murder refuses to cooperate despite knowing the victim personally. This opening scene establishes the series' central theme, the breakdown of social contracts that hold communities together. McNulty's frustration with a system that allows killers to walk free drives him to challenge his superiors, setting up the wiretap investigation that will consume his career and personal life. The Barksdale organization operates like a corporation, with Avon Barksdale as CEO and Stringer Bell as his business-minded lieutenant who dreams of legitimacy. Their operation controls the high-rise housing projects through a combination of violence and economic necessity, creating a parallel economy that serves residents abandoned by legitimate institutions. D'Angelo Barksdale, Avon's nephew, serves as middle management while struggling with the moral implications of a business built on addiction and death. The police bureaucracy mirrors the drug organization's hierarchical dysfunction, with commanders more concerned about statistics than justice and detectives caught between their duty to investigate crime and pressure to avoid complications. The detail assembled to investigate the Barksdales includes misfits and outcasts like Lester Freeman, whose patient approach to financial investigation contrasts sharply with the department's preference for quick arrests and cleared cases. The season's methodical pace reflects real police work, showing how complex investigations require time, patience, and institutional support that bureaucratic pressures rarely allow. The wiretap becomes both a window into the drug trade's sophistication and a metaphor for the surveillance state's limitations when human behavior proves more complex than legal categories can capture. Season 2, 2003. Season 2 shifts focus to Baltimore's docks, where union leader Frank Sobotka struggles to save his members' livelihoods as legitimate shipping work disappears to automation and globalization. His desperate attempts to generate union funds through smuggling deals with the Greek organization reveal how economic pressures force even honest people into criminal compromises. The season explores how American workers lost economic power, while global criminal enterprises gained influence through legitimate business connections. The discovery of dead women in a shipping container introduces human trafficking as another layer of the international drug trade, showing how the same ports that once brought prosperity to Baltimore now facilitate exploitation of the world's most vulnerable people. The Greeks, led by the enigmatic Proposition Joe and Spiros Vandas, operate with business sophistication that makes local drug dealers look primitive by comparison. Nick Sobotka represents the younger generation of working-class Americans who see legitimate work disappearing and turn to crime as economic opportunity rather than moral failing. His relationship with his uncle Frank demonstrates how family loyalty can perpetuate destructive choices across generations. The season shows how criminal organizations exploit economic desperation, while offering the kind of stable employment that legitimate businesses no longer provide. The parallel investigations of the Dock murders and continuing Barksdale surveillance reveal connections between local street crime and international organized crime, suggesting that Baltimore's problems reflect global economic forces rather than local moral failures. The season's tragic conclusion, with Frank's murder and the union's destruction, demonstrates how individuals who challenge powerful interests rarely survive, regardless of their moral motivations. Season 3, 2004. Season 3 introduces political reform through Tommy Carcetti's mayoral campaign and Major Colvin's revolutionary Amsterdam experiment, showing how even well-intentioned change faces institutional resistance. Colvin's decision to create de facto drug legalization zones stems from his recognition that the war on drugs has failed completely. But his practical solution threatens too many institutional interests to survive political scrutiny. Stringer Bell's attempts to legitimize the Barksdale organization through real estate investment and political connections demonstrate how criminal enterprises seek respectability, while legitimate businesses often employ criminal methods. His relationship with Avon deteriorates as their different visions for the organization's future create irreconcilable conflict between street credibility and business respectability. The season explores how reform movements face sabotage from within institutions they're trying to change, as Colvin discovers that reducing crime statistics threatens careers built on crisis management. His superiors prefer failed policies that maintain their authority to successful innovations that might eliminate their positions. The Amsterdam experiment succeeds in reducing violence and improving community life, but political considerations override practical results. Omar Little emerges as the season's moral center, a stick-up artist who robs drug dealers while operating by a strict code that prohibits harming civilians. His homosexuality and criminal profession challenge conventional categories of heroism, while his integrity contrasts sharply with the corruption of supposedly legitimate institutions. His testimony against Byrd demonstrates how criminals sometimes serve justice better than legal authorities. The season climaxes with Stringer's death and Avon's return to prison, showing how the drug trade's violent logic ultimately defeats attempts at business-like reform. Their friendship's destruction represents the broader theme that systemic problems resist individual solutions, no matter how intelligent or well-intentioned the reformers might be. Season 4, 2006. Season 4 focuses on 4 eighth-grade boys navigating Baltimore's failing education system, showing how schools become pipelines to prison rather than pathways to opportunity. Michael, Namond, Randy, and Duquan represent different responses to systemic abandonment: resistance, adaptation, hope, and resignation. Their stories demonstrate how institutional failures create the next generation of street players and victims. Prez's transition from detective to teacher provides an insider's view of how schools function as warehouses for children the system has already written off. His genuine desire to help students crashes against bureaucratic indifference, inadequate resources, and social problems that extend far beyond classroom walls. The school's teaching to the test mentality mirrors the police department's obsession with statistics over substance. Marlo Stanfield emerges as the new king of West Baltimore, operating with ruthless efficiency that makes the Barksdale organization look sentimental by comparison. His systematic elimination of competition and witness intimidation represent the drug trade's evolution toward pure capitalism, where human relationships matter less than market share and operational security. The season's heartbreaking conclusion shows how the boys' different circumstances lead to radically different fates, despite their similar starting points and equal potential. Michael's recruitment into Marlo's organization, Randy's placement in foster care, and Duquan's drift toward addiction demonstrate how institutional failures create predetermined outcomes that individual merit cannot overcome. Season 5, 2008. The final season examines how media coverage shapes public understanding of urban problems, while newsroom budget cuts prioritize sensationalism over substantive reporting. The Baltimore Sun's decline mirrors other institutional failures throughout the series, as economic pressures force journalists to choose between accuracy and employment security. McNulty's fabrication of a serial killer to generate resources for the Marlo investigation represents the series' final exploration of how good intentions can justify questionable methods. His manipulation of media coverage and departmental priorities succeeds tactically while failing morally, demonstrating how corruption spreads when institutional incentives reward dishonesty over integrity. The newsroom subplot reveals how corporate ownership transforms journalism from public service to profit center, leaving reporters like Gus Haynes losing battles against editors who prioritize clickbait over community coverage. Scott Templeton's fabricated stories receive awards, while real reporting goes unrecognized, showing how institutional rewards often punish rather than encourage excellence. Omar's death at the hands of a child demonstrates how violence perpetuates across generations, while his mythologization in the streets shows how authentic heroes emerge from unexpected sources. His assassination represents the series' recognition that individual heroism cannot overcome systemic dysfunction, though it can inspire others to resist dehumanization. The Wire succeeded because it treated urban decay as a complex systemic problem, rather than a simple morality tale about good versus evil. David Simon's journalism background provided authentic details that made fictional characters feel real, while the series' patient pacing allowed for the kind of character development that reveals how ordinary people respond to extraordinary institutional pressures. The Wire proved that television could function as sociology, creating the most comprehensive examination of American institutional failure ever attempted in popular culture. If you enjoyed this journey through Baltimore's broken systems, hit subscribe for more legendary TV breakdowns.